Hello there. It is your mom of 3 in NYC, and I'm back with another video. Yay! If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. It's awesome to have you. My name is Taneza. I am the mother of 3 obedient children. I just got BB1 from a birthday party, picked him up, and the mother of the birthday boy was like, "Your son listens so well." I was like, praise the Lord. Won't he do it? Obedient kids living in the heart of New York City. I would love for you to join my YouTube family, my tribe. All you have to do is hit that button down below, the one that says subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And if you didn't know, there's a little group of my tribe who are extra special to me, my Bible scholars. Yep, and you guys know who you are. You guys know who you are. Miss Arlene, hey. Miss Narita, hey. Love for you to join us on this adventure. We are reading through the Bible in 2023. We have already read through Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth. We are now actually 2/3 of the way through 1 Samuel. Before I jump into the Bible, and for those that are new, I am reading from the NIV translation, the New International Version. Whatever translation that you have is perfect. Stick with it. Even if you don't have a Bible, I love having you. I will put every single verse that I read on the screen. So I try to make it super easy. Also, one more thing, scholars. Instead of posting 2 or 3 times a week, I will now be posting every night. You're going to get a new video from me. So we're going to cut it down to a little bit more manageable bites. So we will be reading 15 chapters per week. So 3 chapters on one day. Like, for example, today's Sunday, it's 3 chapters. And then 2 chapters every night. 2 reasons. 1, make it more manageable. And then 2, to cut down the length of the videos so that the commitment is 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes. You're in and out. All right. I hope that works for you guys. If not, drop in the comments below and let me know. So today, and I joined Instagram in February, but I just started posting recently. And so I will be editing my YouTube is my heart. Y'all know I don't play about you. I'll be posting the full review on YouTube, 10, 12 minutes. And then I'm going to cut that to 4 minutes on Instagram. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. All right, tribe. Bible scholars. Let's get into it, okay? This is a review of 1 Samuel 22, 23, and 24. And so for all of my new Bible scholars, this Bible was gifted to me by my husband, then boyfriend, in 2006. So it's old. It's almost 17 years old. It's crazy. But every verse that's underlined, either by him or by me, I like to read that aloud and share with my Bible scholars. All right, let's get started, because that was 4 whole minutes. 4 whole minutes of information. Chapter 22. Saul heard that David and his men had been found. Like I mentioned before, you can tell how neat the underlining is. This is my husband's underlining. So I'm going to go ahead and read aloud for you guys verses 1 through 5 of chapter 22. David at Adullam and Mizpah. David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam. When his brothers and his father's household heard about it, they went down to him there. Verse 2. All those who were in distress or in debt or discontented gathered around him. He became their leader. 400 men were with him. From there, David went to Mizpah in Moab and said to the king of Moab, "Would you let my father and mother come and stay with you until I learn what God will do for me?" So he left them with the king of Moab. They stayed with him as long as David was in the stronghold. Verse 5. But the prophet Gad said to David, do not stay in the stronghold. Go into the land of Judah. So David left and went to the forest of Hereth. Saul heard, Saul's chasing David, which is crazy, you guys, especially since David is technically his son-in-law because he gave his daughter in marriage. Saul heard that David and his men had been found, verses 9 and 10. Doeg, the Edomite, who was standing with Saul's officials, said, I saw the son of Jesse come to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, at Noab. Ahimelech inquired of the Lord for him. He also gave him provisions and the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Saul called for Ahimelech. All his father's family were the priests at Nob. Saul asked Ahimelech, why did you give the provisions to David that you did? Ahimelech attempts to defend himself and his family, but Saul will hear none of it. Verse 17, the king ordered the guards at his side, turn and kill the priests of the Lord, because they too have sided with David. They knew he was fleeing, yet they did not tell me. But the king's officials were not willing to raise a hand to strike the priests of the Lord. Doeg the Edomite, the one who had first told King Saul about Ahimelech, killed all of the priests. There were 85. One of Ahimelech's sons, Abiathar, escaped to David and told him what happened. Chapter 22 ends with verse 23. Stay with me, David tells him. Don't be afraid. The man who is seeking your life is seeking mine also. You will be safe with me. Chapter 23. David saves Keilah. It opens with verse 1. When David was told, look, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah and are looting the threshing floors. David, inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go and attack these Philistines? The Lord answered him. And again, Bible scholars, David seeks the face of the Lord for everything, and I'm here for it. David goes to God for everything. Literally everything. And I'm just so inspired by that. The Lord answered him, go attack the Philistines, save Keilah. Even though David's men were afraid, David and his men went to Keilah. They fought the Philistines and carried off their livestock. Saul pursues David. Saul heard that David was in Keilah. Verse 8 of chapter 23, Saul called up all his forces for battle to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. David learned about Saul's plans. He again sought the Lord. He asked the Lord, will Saul come to Keilah and destroy it because of him? The Lord said he will. He asked the second question. David asked if the people of Keilah, who he had just rescued from the Philistines, BTW, literally, David and his men just rescued the citizens of Keilah from the Philistines. They fought the Philistines on their behalf. David asked if the people of Keilah would give David up to Saul, and the Lord said they will. I wanted to read for you guys verse 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. David and his men, about 600 in number, left Keilah, kept moving from place to place. When Saul was told that David had escaped from Keilah, he did not go there. David stayed in the desert strongholds and in the hills of the desert of Ziph. Day after day, Saul searched for him, but God did not give David into his hands. When David was at Horesh in the desert of Ziph, he learned that Saul had come out to take his life. Saul's son Jonathan, again, Jonathan and David are comrades. Saul's son Jonathan went to David at Horesh and helped him find strength in his friend, the son of the man trying to kill him, his brother-in-law, helped David to find strength in God. Those are the kinds of friends we need, scholars. We need friends that are going to help you find your strength in God. Verse 17, don't be afraid, he said. My father Saul will not lay a hand on you. You will be king over Israel. I will be second to you. Even my father Saul knows this. Two of them made a covenant before the Lord. Jonathan went home. Again, Jonathan speaking life into David. I have in my notes that the enemy knows that God has a mighty plan for your life. He attempts to destroy it. God has something great for all of his children. And the enemy knows this. But God's on our side. Remember, Saul is still king. The Zephites told Saul that David is hiding at Horesh. Saul instructs them to find out three things. 1, the places where David frequents. 2, who usually sees David. And 3, David's hiding places. Saul was pursuing David literally. They were on the same mountain on opposite sides. A messenger came to Saul to alert him that the Philistines were raiding the land. And chapter 23 ends with verses 28 and 29. Saul broke off his pursuit of David, went to meet the Philistines. That is why they call this place Selah Hamalakoth. David went up from there and lived in the strongholds of En-Gedi. Chapter 24, verse 1 and 2. David spares Saul's life. Verse 1, Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines. He was told, David is in the desert of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel, set out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. Again, I have my notes. This is a story I never learned. I mean, I had an amazing childhood. My mother was a teacher in Sunday school. She loved the word. But again, there's so much in the Bible. And this is another story that I never knew about. So I have my notes. Get this. Saul goes inside a cave, literally to relieve himself, it says. David and his men were in the same cave. It says in the Bible that they were far back in the very same cave that Saul goes into to relieve himself. David and his men were in. Verse 4. The men said, this is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I will give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with as you wish. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. David felt bad for cutting a corner of the robe. Even after everything Saul had done to take his very life, David still said to his men, verses 6, 7, and 8. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lift my hand against him, for he is the anointed of the Lord. With these words, David rebuked his men, did not allow them to attack Saul. Saul left the cave and went away. Then David went out of the cave, called out to Saul, my lord the king. When Saul looked behind him, David bowed down, prostrated himself with his face to the ground. David asked Saul, why did he believe rumors that he, David, was trying to hurt him? Verse 10. This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lift my hand against my master because he is the Lord's anointed. David shows Saul the corner of the robe he had cut. This shows that David had the opportunity to hurt him, yet he did not, even as he went unnoticed. Saul wept aloud. Verse 17. This is Saul speaking. You are more righteous than I am, he said. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. Verse 20. I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. The obedience of David, Bible scholars. The obedience of David. This man has just confessed that, you know what, you're right. God has anointed you king. The same person that was trying to kill him, he wept aloud because of how badly he had treated him. All right, Bible scholars, it has been awesome. I've missed you. I've missed you. All right, as always, questions, comments, leave them down below. And I'll see you in our next review. Bye, Bible scholars.